Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the videos. The paid request is time for Andrew. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1986 film Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Now, number one, I've always been a fan of Rodney Dangerfield. This is a guy that he was in the circuit of stand-up comedy for a while, but he didn't find huge success until very late in his life. Like very late in his career. I don't know if he was in his 40s or 50s. I can't remember. Maybe his 40s. But like he would do stand-up, but it was after a while when he got Johnny Carson and before that Ed Sullivan show. And even movie-wise, like, the first big movie he was in was Caddyshack, and that was, what, 1980, give or take? Which is a fun movie. You got great cast. You got him, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase. And that was a big success. And this is a guy that, I think of a comedy legend. He did not do a whole lot of movies in the 80s. Which is crazy to me, and I didn't really understand why, because the films he was a part of were a success. Maybe it's by choice. Maybe he just preferred stand-up more. Maybe he was just very picky on scripts. Maybe some other reason, I don't know. Because then he would do Easy Money, which I liked. That's an underrated film with him and Joe Pesci. I don't know if that film's on Blu-ray. If so, I need to pick it up sometime. Because that is a fun movie. That's where Ronnie, his mother-in-law, kind of gives him this bet of if he shapes up and he stops drinking, stops smoking, loses weight, all this stuff, then he could get this money. So he's trying to do that. His buddy's played by Joe Pesci. That's a fun one. That might be my favorite Rodney Dangerfield movie. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I think that was the first Rodney film I had seen. And then this came out in 1986. And 1986, I've said, is one of my favorite years for movies. One of my favorite years for movies. Because I looked at 86 and I go, you know what? I got Aliens. I got Big Trouble in Little China. I got my favorite Star Trek film, Star Trek 4. I got my favorite, Cobra is in there. Aliens, Cobra, Big Trouble in Little China, Maximum Overdrive, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Crocodile Dundee. I'd go through the list. I'm like, man, that movie came out too. That movie came out too. And there's a lot of movies that came out that I love. And this is another fun one. I mean, before I go on, what's even crazier, like, this was a big hit. I mean, Caddyshack did well, and it was part of an ensemble piece. Easy Money made some money. But this was one of the 10 biggest films of the year. And so you think, okay, now the rocket ship's on Rodney. The rocket ship is attached, and he's ready to go. He didn't really make a film of note in 5 years after this. I mean, he was in a bit part in Moving, which is a Richard Pryor film I like. Came out a few years after this, and it was the same director who did Back to School, did Moving. And that's a fun one. Again, Rodney had like a bit part. He might have had a bit part here and there. I mean, Neighbors Roosters, even they're mad at this. They're protesting, what the fuck? I don't know why Rodney didn't star in a film for 5 years. And then the next one he starred in was Rover Dangerfield, the voice of a cartoon character. That's pretty much him as a dog. Rover Dangerfield. And I'm like, that's so weird that definitely his biggest solo hit, and then for 5 years he doesn't do anything. And then again, the next thing he's a voice of a cartoon character. I mean, I don't know what happened. You would think, wow, this is a hit. He should have been gotten a gluttony of offers and movies. But maybe he thought none of them were good or something else happened. I don't know. If you know, please let me know. But again, I find that strange that a film this big and it wasn't capitalized on. But Rodney, some may not even know who Rodney is. Because when he did into the 90s, I mean, he was in a very different role in Natural Born Killers. A very different type of role. He did a couple films, but they were more lower budget. I mean, Ladybugs was pretty much a kids soccer movie with some pretty weird things in it when you watch it again. There was direct-to-video film like My Five Wives. I think it was called The Fourth Tenor. Meet Wally Sparks. Like films that just were never up to the par critically, successfully, just not nearly as good as films like Back to School and Easy Money. So things kind of just fell off, sadly. But like I said, because of that, some people might not even know who Rodney is. This is a guy who would a lot of times was famous for no respect, no respect. Tugging his collar, tugging his tie, and he was always making jokes that would make fun of himself. My wife and I, what happened for 20 years? Then we met. Or, when I was a kid, my parents moved a lot, but I always found them. Or, I have good-looking kids. Thank goodness my wife cheats on me. Like, he would do jokes like that. Very much making fun of himself. Self-deprecating is a term I'm thinking of. And like I said, always enjoyed him. He helped a lot of people. I mean, Sam Kinison. I think Dice, maybe? I think he helped Andrew Dice Clay a bit. I could be wrong. But there are a few people out there who's like, yeah, they helped from Rodney. Which was nice to hear. But the rest of the cast isn't too shabby either. You got Sally Killerman, who I think Sally's passed away. She remember if people remember the movie version of MASH, she played Hot Lips Callahan. I mean, some people don't even know what MASH is, or if they do, they remember the TV show. But the TV show was based on a movie that was successful with Elliot Gould and a few others. Again, Sally Kelman was in the movie one. You have Burt Young, Paulie from the Rocky films. He's there as Rodney's friend, limo driver, and in a way bodyguard as well. Nice to see Burt Young in there. Keith Gordon, who would be in John Carpenter's Christine before this actually. He plays Rodney's son. Robert Downey Jr., very young Robert Downey Jr., plays Keith Gordon's buddy. It's always nice to go by to see Robert Downey Jr. in films like this and Weird Science. Very different from the Robert of today. William Zabka, who played Johnny Lawrence in The Karate Kid, he's in here as another bully. Which I guess he tried to be more of a funny bully, but they cut a lot of that out because they just wanted Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid. Adrienne Barbeau from John Carpenter's The Fog and Escape from New York. She's in here at the beginning of the film where she played Rodney's wife, who's always cheating on him and is a gold digger. Oh, again, I like Adrienne Barbeau. Nice to see her in there. She was also in Wes Craven's Swamp Thing from back to the day. Good friend of mine, Fabio, actually met her at a convention recently and asked her about this movie, and she said that Rodney was nice, and that at one point there's a lot of women by his trailer, and she asked the director, "What's that about?" Well, all the women, they want a kiss, a kiss from Rodney. So, he was a ladies' man. If you want to hear more, definitely check out my friend the Italian Stallion 51's video on, I forget if it was called Monster Mania or Monster, I forget what it was, but it's a recent convention he went to. So, that, got picture or autograph. That was really cool. Sam Kinison, he's in it briefly as a teacher. A very memorable scene. I didn't realize Robert Picardo was in this as well. If you've seen films back in the day, like he was the killer in The Howling, who was also a werewolf, the first Howling Joe Dante film. Gremlins 2, the new batch. You know the executive guy who the female gremlin has the hots for, and I mean the final scene in the movie ends with him, and she's ready to kiss him. That's Robert Picardo. He was also in Inner Space. He's I forget what character he was in one. Was a Star Trek Deep Space Nine or Voyager? I didn't keep up with those Star Trek shows, so I can't remember which. But he plays the guy who Rodney finds cheating with his wife. Like he's the one kissing Rodney's wife, and Rodney finds them. And I know it's 10 minutes in. I haven't gone to the plot, but the plot's pretty simple. Rodney, he has become successful with these, and they're called tall and fat stores. He become a very successful businessman. He wants to talk to his son, and I'm glad that his son isn't being too dickish. Chief Gore's not being too prickish to his dad. He's like, hey, things are going okay. They're not. He's not popular. He's not on the diving team. In fact, he's the towel boy, but he doesn't want to tell his dad that. To get this undercurrent that he doesn't want to live in his father's shadow. But at the same time, he's not being too mean or prickly to his dad either. There's a lot of nice heartfelt moments between him and Rodney where you can tell that he really cares for his dad, that really respects his dad, and especially when he tries to help his dad at the end. But Rodney finds Adrian Barbeau cheating on him, and like I said, you get a lot of fun Rodneyisms, and that might have been helped by Harold Ramis, because Harold Ramis had worked on Caddyshack back in the day, and his name is in the credits with the script, so he might have gone to do a little bit of touch-ups on, Harold Ramis, of course, Ghostbusters, and may he rest in peace. But there's a lot of Rodney dialogue that would fit with his stand-up act. Like early on when you see the commercial for a store. Are you fat? Do you look at a menu and say, okay? Or when he's talking to Adrian Barbeau, got nothing to wear. You got 6 closets full of nothing to wear. Or he looks at a lady with a green dress. Man, if that dress had pockets, you look like a pool table. Or one of my favorite bits is he divorces her. He's got evidence that she's cheating on him, so she can't take the money. He didn't like that she came between him and his son, so he goes to see his son. His son wants to drop out. Rodney urges him not to, and then goes, hey, I'll go to college with you. So is Rodney Dangerfield going back to college? Is Rodney Dangerfield being a rich businessman, going back to college, and just have the time of his life? So, for example, there's a cop he meets, and he's talking, hey, a little something for the kids. I don't have any kids. You don't have any kids? Here, go make some kids. Go get some kids. So I like that. Here's for the kids, but I don't have kids. You don't have any kids? Go make some kids. It gives them the rest of the money. I don't know why that little has changed. Always made me laugh. And then pretty much throughout college, it's either him falling in love with the Sally Kellerman, who's a teacher. So you have this love story between these two older folks, and I thought it was rather sweet. And again, Rodney gets I thought it was a rather sweet piece of business. Or him having fun, going to parties, singing Twist and Shout. Actually, I want to commend the score. The score I thought fit the comedy well. Is Danny Elfman who did the score. Of course, Danny Elfman would go on to do Batman '89 and many other movies, Beetlejuice after this. And also the band he was a part of, Oingo Boingo, is featured in this. And Oingo Boingo, I mean, they were in quite a few movies. One of their songs is in Ten Chainsaw Massacre 2. Was it the song Strange Things? I think at the end of the film it's Oingo Boingo. I could be wrong. Actually, no, I don't know if it's them. Scratch that. I don't know which. Yeah, I know they're in. There's a song of theirs in Chainsaw Massacre 2. I can't remember which song it is, so. Because I'm bad with names, I'm bad with that type of stuff. Unless I have them written down. It's just me getting older, I guess. But I know one of their songs is in that movie, and one of their songs is in this movie, and they're actually playing in one scene. So I didn't either have love story with Sally Killerman, and she like there's a scene where she keeps saying, "I got class to teach here. I got class to teach here," and ultimately Ronnie goes, "Well, call me sometime when you have no class." Of course, it meant a different way, and even little bits. I think Ronnie was very underrated as a lead, and that's why it's a shame that in the highlight of his career, where you have people that could have better flourishes of a script and budget and fine tuning things, that he didn't get to make more of those mainstream movies that Sally just kind of went to straight to video. That you get some fun from Rodney, but it's just the other production piece is just not up to snuff, so to speak. Although Rodney is still fun to see in some of those movies. But even the bit where he keeps giving people pins, and then when he's ready to start, he's like, I give away all my pins. Sorry, I need that pin back. Here's a calendar. I just Ronnie's just a very likable character. That even though he's rich, he has that down to earth quality. He doesn't think he's better than anybody. Of course, you have the drama with one of the teachers doesn't approve of Ronnie being there, and also because he had the hots for Sally Kellerman as well, so he's a bit prickish to Ronnie because Ronnie's stealing his girl, so to speak. I mean, it wasn't his girl to begin with, but that's how he sees it. Yeah, the bit with Steve Gordon. And I like Steve Gordon. I wouldn't say like the love story between him and this other girl, I was gun-ho about, but it wasn't bad either. I was kind of, it was fine, but it was just indifferent kind of fine. It's like, okay, it is what it is. But it's not like the scenes that I take away from the film. But, I mean, on the flip side, they were not egregious. Again, Steve Gordon and the girl, they did fine with each other, and it wasn't. It didn't take too much out of the proceedings. It seems like the movie knew to keep with Rodney, and I think that was for the better. Robert Downey Jr., he pops in from time to time to help Steve Gordon out, have a few words with Rodney. Like I said, interested to see a young Robert Downey Jr. with at times different colored hair and being sort of a rebellious type of character against the assholes like William Zabka's character. Billy Zabka is pretty much a lesser version of Johnny Lawrence. I would call it that. I say lesser because he doesn't have as... I think because he was trying to play it as more funny, you could kind of see a little bit in that performance. So he's less intimidating. He's not as... It's nice to see him in there, but he's just not as strong as compared to the Karate Kid. Sam Kinison is the teacher. That's a very fun scene with... He's talking about Vietnam, and the student has an answer. He's like, oh, yeah. A lot of people have those answers, and, well, pussies like you were back here partying. I was out there, and the rice patties, say it, ah. That was part of Sam Kinison's act. And Rodney's like, hey, take it easy on her. What was it he said? What have you spoke, Mr. Helperton? Or something like that. And he starts yelling, it's, say it! And Roddy does say something that he likes, and Sam Kinison's like, good answer. I liked you. I don't keep my eye on you. It's just sad he's not in the film more. He's in one scene, and the scene shines. But I do wish Sam Kinison was in the film more. I wish we could have had at least 2 or 3 more scenes with him, at least. It would have been nice to witness. And that's a guy who died too young. Sam Kinison, way too young. Burt Young, if you've seen Paulie in the Rocky films, you know how Burt Young goes. Again, always nice to see him in there. Doesn't have too much dialogue, but when he does, it works. Like when Bert's talked to the Chief Gordon, hey, go easy on your dad. Okay? I know how it goes. I got 2 boys. You know what I did? I put one through college. I put one through a wall. So I'm tough and I'm sensitive. I put one through college. I put one through a wall. I just this is there's some fun pieces of dialogue in this, and that goes throughout the picture. The ending is what it is. I mean, he's pretty much there's the risk of him getting kicked out unless he passes his course. And I mean, it's fun to see him studying all the different ways of studying. My favorite bit is he's kind of drowsy in the shower, and Chief Gordon's trying to hold the book. He's got like a rain slicker. The way Roddy's kind of portraying being drowsy and trying to follow. That's a nice visual gag. But at the same time, it's like, who cares if he passes or not? I mean, if he doesn't pass, he's still a rich businessman. But I guess more of a ego, not ego, but showing that he can do it. That he can do it because we like this character. We want him to succeed. He doubts himself, but his son believes in him. It's more, you just say, to not let his son down. So, it's just in the back of my head going, well, I mean, you're still a millionaire. Like, you still have a successful business. You'll still be fine if you fail. But I get where he's going with this well. I get it. It's just compared to other films, I don't think it's as much of a risk factor, but I did, like I said, I did what I was going for. And then the last bit with the diving bit, it's a bit goofy in today's age, where there's the diving meet. Williams actor faces an injury because he's a dickhead. So Emmett Walsh, who's in Missing Action, he was in the first Critters movie. He's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, he was in Wild Wild West as a train conductor. He gets Rodney to come down and be part of the team, and Rodney does the triple Lindy. When you watch it, it does look really goofy. I mean, the guy diving is good, but I mean, obviously you can tell it's not Rodney. There's a bit where he's going around circles. You clearly see on the face it's not Rodney. It's stunt person, whatever. And then when it bounces, it cuts to Rodney going. I mean, maybe they can get some laughs out of you, but it's not like a terrible, horrible scene. It's not. But if I was to determine like my least favorite scene, it'd probably be that. It's not that it's bad or anything. It's just more of the verbal comedy and Rodneyisms. I would say is more entertaining. But I mean, on the flip side, it's a scene people do remember from this movie, the Triple Lindy. So there's definitely a nice goofy nature to it. I guess just the fact that that's the culmination of the movie is this scene. It's like, oh yeah, okay. I don't know how else you could end it. Maybe I'm trying to remember now. Maybe some kind of verbal sparring with some folks in some way. I don't know. But with that said, Back to School is still a very fun film. Um, I would say this is the best way to introduce people to Rodney Dangerfield because he's front and center, solo. All, like I said, I have to see Easy Money again to see if I liked that one or this one more. I said Easy Money is my favorite, but it's been a while since I've seen it, so that could change in another rewatch. But like I said, this is really entertaining. It makes sense that it ends with Respect by Aretha Franklin, since that's Rodney's gimmick. I did no respect, no respect. But like I said, it's just a shame that this film is a good movie. It's a fun movie. It was in the top 10 of the year of hits, and he didn't star in a film for 5 years. And he didn't, and that was an animated film, like rated G, which, considering his other usual bits of humor, didn't seem like the right audience to try to go after. The little kids. And again, it's just very strange. I don't know what the thought process of that was. Again, if anyone has any answers, please let me know. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.